in the special guest seat. He's there out there he's in the North Country in Canada. It is Mr. Vladimir, who is the wild Russian. He builds robots, he builds apps, he shoots things out of cannons. He's done so many interesting things on here on X. He really is an innovator, and I believe he's on the tip of the spear when it comes to actually producing content on X, which is compelling and interesting and smart. He is no slouch, and he is a former Coke and BMW engineer. And also, one other thing everybody must know is that Mr. Vladimir gives 100% all the time. Now, remember, you're listening to the AI Biz Hour, and you can go to our website, AI Biz Hour. That's AIBIZHOUR.com. And you can find us on X. That's our home base. If you're listening out in the nether regions and YouTube or whatever, and Twitch Live, you find us here on X. Go to either my account, AI John Allen, or go to Andy Wergadal's account, and you will find the live feed for us, and you can come here and ask questions of our guests. It's super exciting. I mean, this is where the forefront thinkers, doers, actors when it comes to AI, they're here. We really have a stellar group of people that show up on a regular basis, and you can find us on X, LinkedIn, YouTube, and we also have a Discord server, Twitch, and some other things. So, Andy, how are you doing this morning? I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, it's 1 minute after.
We're good. It's fantastic. Vlad is an awesome dude. And he definitely gives 100%, 100 days in a row, all the time. He's done this multiple times, and so excited to hear all the cool things that he's doing and talking about today. And if you haven't listened to the show, if you're not subscribed, if you're not listening and clicking the buttons to get the notifications from John or me, or anytime we go live, or from the Startup Circle, you are missing it, because we bring the latest and greatest every single day. And don't forget to mention our sponsors. We got our show sponsored by Virtual Synergies. We're going to put that in the purple pill, put that up in the Jumbotron, and everyone can see that. Find out how or why or what you could use with a virtual assistant. And they are fantastic. So they follow us, they comment on our posts, they comment on the show, and really, really excited to do that. So let's hit it, John, and welcome Vlad.
Vladimir, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for the introduction. Happy to be here. I know it's 3:00, and that means it's time for the AI and Biz Hour. You can't spell Vladimir without AI, right? So here I am.
Awesome.
How's everyone doing?
We're doing great. Andy, there's a little bit of thank you, perfect. And so Vladimir, what I usually do with our guests is I like to humanize them, and I believe that it founds an anchor in memory when people learn a little bit personal about our guests. And so where I always like to start is, what happened with you in your upbringing during your formative years that you believe got you to where you are today? In other words, you're so creative with what you're doing on X. You're also a programmer. You're working with the AI. You're a unique individual. What kind of gave you the foundation at a younger age that you feel that kind of brought you to this giving 100%? Now, I've heard your story a little bit, and if you want to share that would be great, because it does put your 100% really in context. And I'm not sure if all of our listeners know these things about you.
Good questions. As far as upbringing and where it plays in, I think I'll tie back to that because I think it's a big question, right? And I think a good way to go is to work backwards from where we are now. I before doing the space, I was kind of thinking like, what would be good to talk about? Like, do we just list all the cool stuff we're doing? Do we talk about this and that? Do we just do interviewing? I actually thought what would be really cool, and actually your question is really great because it leads into that, is to talk about the concept of breakthroughs, because and this you'll see as I talk about my upbringing. I would characterize my own life, I would say, as a series of breakthroughs and then moments of looking for breakthroughs. So that would be kind of that. So I guess first to introduce myself, first of all, I'm thrilled because everybody's here and that we're all here trying to go to the next level, whatever that looks like for you. So whether you're building robots, creating gadgets, developing apps, with or without AI, or you're here because you're into innovation, you're in the right place, right? This is the AI Biz Hour. For those that don't know, I'm Vladimir Baranov, and I spend my days teaching kids to build robots, and I build gadgets and apps myself, and try to encourage and spark people's creativity for tech. But more importantly, I help people, young and old, discover breakthroughs, because I believe we're all looking for the next step, the next thing. Apps and robots are the thing that I happen to work on, but we're all ultimately looking for the next thing, breakthroughs. And breakthroughs aren't just big moments, right? In my opinion, it's when you push beyond what you knew before, and when you challenge kind of the way you used to think, consciously or unconsciously, and then it's kind of powerful, really powerful moments. And really my goal is to create these moments when things click. So when the code runs for the first time, when you first get that URL to send to a friend, when somebody asks you for the first time to use your app, those kind of moments, those are breakthroughs, and those are what pushes us forward. So whether it's robots or code or whatever in your life, I think that's kind of what I really like to focus on. And today, I guess, we'll dive into how those breakthroughs happen and how you can kind of foster them in your own life. They're not milestones, I would say, breakthroughs. They're reminders that we're capable of doing good things. To me, the biggest breakthroughs I've had are, they weren't like, oh my God, I achieved something great. It was like, oh yeah, okay, I knew I could do it, and now this confirms that I can do it. So yeah, let's build, let's discover together, kind of, let's inspire each other. That's what we're here for. So I thought about kind of, talking on the space about the breakthroughs. But your question was very direct, Andy, it was John, about upbringing. I'm not sure, because I think that goes so far back it may not even be related to what I do today. I know, for example, my dad was a software developer at Novell. In 1992, Novell was one of the, I wouldn't say original companies, that was already the 90s, but in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a company called Novell, and they had an office in Russia. And so my dad was, we had a computer, which not a lot of people in Russia had, so I got to play some computer games. And then we moved to Canada when I was, 8, 9 years old, and I kind of had a computer earlier than most people, but still only by a couple of years. So I don't actually think I had like a huge advantage in that necessarily. But in terms of breakthroughs, I would say everything from going to many different schools when I was younger to moving to a different country, things like this. I'm used to taking big steps and not being too caught up in a series of normal. Like, there is no normal for me, and in some ways, as a result, I feel more at home in a new place than I feel in a familiar place, which is good and bad. So I don't know. I don't know if that really answers it, but I would say my upbringing is a lot of moving around. Like, I went to multiple schools, I lived in multiple cities, even multiple countries, so yeah, just a lot of that. And moving upwards, like, in the sense of, when I was 4, 5, 6 years old, we didn't even have a phone, right? Like, we didn't have a car. We just got our first car, didn't have a phone, that kind of thing. And then as we moved to Canada, this and that, sort of, getting more things and progressing upwards. So I would say my upbringing was, just very regular ass kid playing on the playground in Russia.
So just maybe the first breakthrough. I mean, I could have. At what age were you when you moved, and was there anything that you missed or longing? Where's your connection? Like, because Russians are very, in my experience, are very unique, and they love theater, and there's certain things that have great value with them, and that must go with you wherever you go, I would imagine. I don't know if you're a theater buff or what. And then your father was involved in coding. Also, everybody, please like and share this. Please get out there so we get as many people as we can in on the space. And then I'm sure Andy has a question.
I
That's a good
no,
question.
go ahead.
Yes,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Vlad.
Yeah, John. Yeah. So in terms of that, I think when it comes to the, I moved to Canada when I was 8 years old. So I think, I grew up largely with, yeah, I'm 38. So I grew up with largely Canadian customs. I think to me, the Russian side is, there's a cultural side, which you have to be exposed to daily what's going on all the time to be part of that. And then there's almost like the physical side of there's a physical longing that I feel for things that I think is associated with what people describe as the Russian spirit. And I don't know, I don't go too deep into that, but to me, I would say I'm more Canadian than anything. I'm just like a very regular Canadian dude because I've lived in Canada for 30 of the 38 years of my life. And coming to Canada, actually, what was really interesting is I learned a little bit of English in grade three, and then we came over. And then all the signs, or half the signs in the airport, were in French. And I was getting confused about what is all this bienvenue stuff. And that was one of literally my first memory coming to Canada, as far as breakthroughs.
What what do you think is the biggest advantage about multiple languages, multiple cultures, multiple kind of viewpoints? What do you think that, and how do you think that applies directly to uh, creating robots or writing code or kind of maybe just even solving problems?
I had this breakthrough the first time. So I drank alcohol for the first time very late. I think I was 18 or 19 years old. And I had this thought the first time that I got drunk, which is, wow, if people feel this way, I can understand some of their behaviors. And so um, different languages and different states of mind and this and that, they just let you understand a broader range of what you see in the world.
And how do you use that to make robots or shooting, potato cannons
Oh,
or
I mean, that has nothing to do with building robots. That's who gets to hear it then. All right. If I can talk to you in English, and that's amazing, I can reach the awesome world of the people around me. If I, was speaking another language, I don't think it helps technically or anything. It might. Um, I don't know. I don't know.
I think it helps. Here's my view after watching you and being a friend for a while. Um, you have a perspective of I can do it. Somebody else has done it. I can figure it out. I can figure out that language. I can figure out Python. I can figure out this language. I can figure out that. I can go print things. I can figure out the algorithm. I can do whatever it is. I think that you might be you might just because that's part of you all the time. But in my experience, it's not part of everybody.
It's a type of breakthrough that I often have when I see somebody do something that I know I can do. When I see that for the first time, not being done by, like the Michael Jordan of the thing. If you see Michael Jordan do it, you might get inspired, but in your heart of hearts, you're not going to be Michael Jordan. If you see somebody who is not that good at doing something and they're doing something amazing, like seeing regular people do incredible stuff, is not just like inspiring for a second, but it's like it can create a deep change where it's like, well, forget the words, but let's say that we put words to it. It could be something like, well, if this person can do it, why can't I? If I see this person can do it, why won't I? What stops me? This kind of stuff. And then at that point you sort of have to decide, will you do it or not? And I actually think that's a lot of the time why I like watching everybody do stuff, not just people who are the best of the best, because you can get inspiration from a lot of simple places.
Well, and I think there's a lot of people here that are fans of yours, so please ask to grab the mic. Andy and I were facilitators. The room is really only as great as the people that show up, and Vladimir's very interesting. Everybody's got their own different perspective. Everyone sees him from a different angle. So I'd really encourage everybody to please ask to grab the mic and ask some questions. And I guess let's get to brass tacks. So you started coding at what age? Were you inspired by your father? And then have you been following AI for a long time? Are you using it? And give us, I guess, a little background about your career, because it's very impressive to see you code for, what was it, 12 hours straight live. I mean, you do push yourself. To the 100-day challenge was super impressive, but you're combining it with coding, because we have a lot of coders here, and you must be using AI at some level.
Well, yes, no. But if you look at, let's say, the whole coding journey, so the first time I wrote any code, I think I was 8 or 9 years old, just some random basic stuff. And then I would make a couple websites when I was like 12 or 13. I got paid for my first website when I was 16. But then until 28, I was really not a professional coder. I opened a recording studio. I worked with, in the recording industry, worked with some Grammy winners, played at, some of the biggest venues in Canada, including the Rogers Centre. And then I picked up software development when I stopped all of that stuff, and I took a boot camp, and that turned a lot of what I like to say is passion into professionalism, because you're going to learn a lot of stuff just by being passionate and poking a lot, but there's a lot of stuff you'll never learn until you learn it in a structured environment. It's like being in the NBA versus being amazing at street ball. Best street ball players in the world aren't necessarily going to win an NBA game. And so at the point where I took the boot camp, I became a professional coder, in the sense of people started to want to pay me a lot of times, repeatedly, for it. So
I find that musicians have a lot of adaptabilities to a lot of things. I didn't know this about you, that you were a musician and you played. If you could go through that just a little bit, like, what was it? Are you a rock band? Did you play guitar? Did you write the songs? You're a producer. You worked with some Emmy winners. At what level? That's kind of fascinating. I didn't know any of this about you. Can you go into that a little detail?
Yeah, so it's dance, R&B, hip hop, and I'm a producer, writer, and I also did a bunch of rapping. So I do a bunch of freestyle rap and recorded rap and this and that. But we don't get too into that. I actually have a video with. So in Toronto, Canada, we had a mayor called Rob Ford, and he had a whole thing that you may know about him a few years back. And at the time, I found his body double, and I'll post the pictures. I have before, but the account got banned, so you can't see them. So I found Rob Ford's body double. He looks identical to him, and we filmed a music video together. That was, so random stuff like this. And this actually ties into something else, and I think I mentioned this on the space, or I made a post about it, is that amateur artists are, amateur creators are artists. And that's actually, to me, like, amateur programmers are artists. That's what I was up until age 28. I sort of took it creatively, like, let's explore, let's do this and that. And then professional creators are distributors. So I produced all kinds of dope stuff, but the distribution was based on the artist. If the artist was good at distributing, the music got out. If they weren't, it didn't. So I really focused on the artist side. And I actually, like, my breakthrough, active breakthrough right now is that I'm trying to work on the distribution. Yeah, but anyway, so long story short, the music side, yeah, it's dance, hip hop, R&B. We had a whole recording studio in Toronto. Yeah, like a lot of fun stuff, but didn't make a lot of money. It's the music industry, right? So it was fun, but yeah.
One thing, so you had this epiphany, and I kind of went with it. I made one post, but I think it's something that all of us who are on X, we're all doing various things on X. We're here for a reason. The epiphany and the breakthrough of artist versus distributor, because I went down that rabbit hole based on, you do things that people connect to and then they want to take to another level. I think that's maybe your genius, your secret that you're not maybe even totally aware of. But so I went to Grok and I asked for the definition of terms. between what is a distributor and what are the elements of a distributor that make a good distributor. And so can you go through that a little bit, because I think that was really hugely insightful, and I think everybody here can really benefit from your insight on that concept.
Very interesting. I'm working right now in a new business, and we work with hyper successful Instagram influencers, I guess. And there's a lot that I've learned from that. But it's a version of what I said actually the day that I got on Spaces, and it was guys like Logan Paul. What they do is not target 1 million people. They target one person and then try to scale it out to a lot of people. And I think the mistake that when people okay, so you can easily grow an audience of 100 people by just being very personable, right? Like, I know you personally, you're going to care about me. But beyond that, you literally cannot keep up with everybody. But the people that can give you the perception that they do are the ones that go hyper successful, right? Like, again, Logan Paul, people like that. His fans, to some degree, Kai Cenat, they may even feel like they're directly interacting with them, when of course it's not happening. And being able to scale out that connection correctly is actually really difficult. And so it's a system. So there's one, it's like, what is the difference between Eminem's best song and why he sold 10 million records? Well, one had to do with making the product. The second was understanding what stores to put it in at what time, in front of what people, and then where to make sure that people find out about it. You can be the most amazing anything in the world, but without the distribution, it's not that it doesn't matter, because it does matter, but you won't reap the rewards. And if you want to reap the rewards financially, then you need to run that system. And what I'm finding, the biggest thing is, amongst people who are successful, is the system. It's not the artistry. The artistry is almost, in these systems, a lot of time I see the artistry being copied. A lot of the most successful business models are like, take posts that already work, make your version of them, and then monetize them, right? Versus what I've been doing for the last whatever is make original content and then sit there. Those are totally different models, right? So the first one makes you money. The second one makes you feel good about posting original stuff to nobody. So you kind of can decide which way to go. And so I think the people that I see being super successful are the ones that go beyond being an artist. Whether it's them or their manager or their system or whoever it is, somebody takes the lead on being the same way that you lose sleep over who's following or not following your stuff, somebody's losing sleep over somebody not seeing that stuff in the first place. And then making sure that not 8%, but 9% of people see it. And then you win, because you know what? There are people competing like that, and they're working and they're spending ad money to get to the top. And yes, you can win on hyper creative content. You still then need to monetize it, right? For example, Ashton Hall, the guy with the morning routine. He has an Instagram account. That's where all this stuff comes from. If you message him, he sells a course, right? At the end of the day, you still have to monetize this stuff. What happens after that 600 million views on X? You message him, he'll try to sell you a coaching thing like a lot of other people do. So there's the two sides. You want to be a professional artist, you need to make money. That's the definition, right? Like by definition, you have to make money and then cycle with that. And the problem is, so I talked to a guy named Joe Carvalho. He's the best mastering engineer in Canada. He has like 50 Grammys. And I asked him, how do you become a successful artist? And he said, be independently wealthy. And what that means is making money is, and I believe him, honestly. And what that means is making money is independent of being a good artist. They go together, but like parallel lines. They're not the same. They may have to, they're aligned if everything is good, but they're separate lines. And I don't know what the best way. This is going to be for this year, for the next 12 months. I'm going to try to figure that out, what it takes to be a successful distributor. And I'm just watching what people are doing, the ones that are selling $250,000 of coaching stuff a month. Not that I want to sell coaching or anything, but just like, what the successful trends are. And yeah, just seeing what, just trying to, what I've done, where I've succeeded is I've copied something that works. It's very rare that I invent something and then that thing immediately starts to make money. It's usually like I'll invent something and that helps 3 people, but then I'll copy something else and that helps me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea that the distribution is the key, because I've heard it said, good artists copy, great artists steal. And
but even the best artists then go sell it to other people
exactly.
and make a profit.
Right. I mean, earlier today we were talking about mastery, and my definition of mastery is when you learn something, then you become knowledgeable. When you can execute the thing you've learned, you become an expert. But when you can teach somebody else how to become an expert in the thing you did, that's when you're a master.
Potentially, that's because that, like the best driver isn't necessarily the best driving instructor, right? Because yeah, that's a good question. That's I guess that's a matter of definition. I think of mastery as unconscious competence, right? When you can't do it wrong, when you just, when on autopilot, like the way you drive, right? You're unconsciously competent. You drive without thinking. But this is a definition thing. This isn't like a right or wrong. It's more of a
yeah. No, I love that. That's awesome. And watching your live stream. I mean, the reason we have a live stream is because you did that post once and said, here's all the stuff I did, and here's how I click, and here I click here, and then I tried OBS, it just didn't work, but the concept got in my brain, and then that turned into we use Talk Studio instead of OBS. It's really not that much different, except that we have multiple browsers and multiple microphones and multiple sets of things muted and unmuted and shared and whatever. And it came because you started that live stream, and I thought that's a really cool idea. I want to do that. I don't know how, so I'm going to watch Vlad and see how he does it.
That's the best inspiration. You were like, look at this asshole. If he can do it, I can do this. And that's way, that's way better than you watching like Piers Morgan and being like, well, now I got to go spend $200,000 to be a
studio with lighting and a producer and multiple camera. Yeah. I agree with that. It's nuts. But yeah, you do it, with a computer and by the way, just on a personal note, you have these two mice that look like they're the replicate of each other, so you can just reach down and grab what you thought. I'm like, how did you get the right one and the left one? Because I've never seen anybody do that. I think it's really cool. So I don't know. It's not. By the way, it's just an observation, and everybody.
So I have two mice. I have a left-handed and a right-handed mouse. They're both vertical too. They're not horizontal. Like it's for the bones in your wrist to be properly lined up. So I use the left-handed mouse for 3 days, then the right-handed mouse for 3 days. And right now I have two computers, so actually I'm using them both at the same time with two mice. It's kind of funny.
So Vladimir, the music industry, it's very defined between artist and distributor. Is that something that for this journey that you're going to go on the next year, where are you going to find use cases that you can test? And do you have a methodology of pushing yourself to the proper location where the system is working? Or how do you do that? Because it's obvious that you are very thoughtful about what you do and you do testing. And so what is your methodology to find out how to get to where you want to be?
You have to decide. There's many ways. For me, it's deciding what I want to be known as. Because let's say Soulja Boy, right? He's a perfect example of somebody that took advantage of a changing industry and did it independently. But Soulja Boy will never produce content on the level of Dr. Dre. One, he doesn't have the money. Two, he doesn't have the team around him. Three, he will never have the team around him because the people Dr. Dre will have work for him will never work with Soulja Boy, some of them, etc. Right? It's all about access, right? So to me, ultimately the goal of everything, it's not money, it's access. There are people without money who can get things that you would have to pay $10 million for, or me, like because of who they are. And it comes down to like, if you know what you want in life, you just can hyper focus on that. So can you do it independently? Sure, yeah. Like Soulja Boy did it, or like Hobson, or like Logic, right? There's a whole generation of artists that basically did it independently. But what they lost, in my opinion, was artist development. Real world-class artist development that's required to make an Ariana Grande, that's required to make an Eminem, a Christina Aguilera. No, all of the independent artists, 100% of them, are not as good as the best industry artists because they simply don't know some things. And whatever way that you have to that information has to get passed down. It happens to be, and when people are in these industries where they don't have to do anything. They are world-class artists who've made enough money to live on their own. They don't have to work on any project. They work on pride. They work on artistry. Their definition of what they find successful is different. There's only a few people in the world that are superstars, like at any given point. In any industry, let's take music again. There's 10 people who are world class who will sell out, Kendrick Lamar. 10 people like that in rap. Kendrick Lamar, Drake, whatever. Not even 10. Same thing in the, in whatever pop, in dance, whatever. But everything below that is pseudo experts, people who've made, enough money that they can consider themselves experts, but they're not the best in the world and they never will be. And that's fine as well. So you kind of have to decide what you want to go after. I don't really know personally. Your question was, where to go with it. I think a lot of things can be done independently. But for example, if I wanted my videos to look as good as an Oscar-winning movie, let's say that was one of my criteria. I cared about aesthetics like that. I don't think I have the training. Let's say I have all the money in the world. I don't think I have the training to do it myself. I would have to hire somebody who has both the talent and experience to do that. Maybe I can train myself, but by that time I'll be 45. So that's the thing. If I want to do these things today, it depends on what you want to do, right? Some things don't require that. If I just want to do what Asmund Gold does on YouTube, you could sit at home with a webcam and it's actually or what, let's say Gotham Chess does for chess. You can just show up every day and deliver your take. And if you do that for 3 years, you will have an audience of about 1 million people, and it'll never get bigger because that's the audience for just opinions in general. So as far as where I want to take it, I don't know. I want to inspire a lot of people to make breakthroughs and go past what they're doing. Not just technically, but even in a health perspective, right? The breakthroughs in my life have been like, I had to wear braces 3 times to not have a headache, to be able to chew food properly. I had to get foot orthotics to walk properly. I had to avoid eating 5 or 6 different foods for my stomach to not hurt. And this took 12 years. So the breakthroughs, whatever it is that you're looking to do, if you can find that lighthouse, if you can find that, Alex North Star was the guest yesterday. If you can find your North Star or your lighthouse or the thing in the dark to walk toward, that's really what I want to do, because we're going to talk for an hour to maybe 20 hours, right, in our lives together. Maybe you'll watch 100 hours of my videos. Maybe I'll watch 100 hours of yours. But you're going to spend weeks and months and years with yourself. And so what you do with that time is way more important. If I can impact in any way, right, like in that time that we're together, that's kind of what I want to do. So where that's going as far as what kind of show, this and that, I have all kinds of ideas. But a lot of time, it's not about the show itself. It's about what's the result. I care way more about the result than any kind of game. We can play all kinds of fun games. I can turn on the camera right now, make a campfire, throw fireworks into it. We all have fun. Then what? Right? We can. So anyway, I'm thinking about it. I don't know. But the distribution is nonetheless, whatever that is, a lot of people have to hear about it.
So how are you going to define success in this? And I guess you do coding, you do these other things, but that's not really your focus anymore. Your focus, you do that just to pay the bills, or are you using it as an end to create this vehicle that's going to get you somewhere that's going to be defined as you move along?
Well, coding, I don't really do coding for hire, and I teach people online for free. The stuff that makes me money, I have my business robot school, and I'm also CTO of a software company, so that we're hopefully gonna sell one day. I don't know, we'll see. So those are kind of the things. I'm trying to apply that thing that I said that my friend Joe told me, which is if you want to be a really good artist, be independently wealthy. And wealthy for me doesn't mean millions necessarily. It just means enough that I can pay for the artistry, where I'm not trying to depend on the ad payout check or whatever the hell it is. And as a result, I'm posting things I don't care about. I want to, you know what I mean? So to me, those are completely the business of it is the business of it, and sort of the mission of it is the mission. They're separate, they're aligned, but they're separate.
Very
if that makes sense.
Excellent. I see we have a hand up. Jack, you have a question for Mr. Vladimir?
Yeah, so you kind of stole my thunder a little bit there, John, because I was curious about Vladimir, the thought process that you put in. Look, a lot of people follow you. I was there for the 12-hour build through the whole thing. I was there to build the Grok Rock, and I learned a lot through that whole process, and I am carrying some of that forward in some of the applications that I'm doing. And I commented a bit on your setup. I asked you to explain in one of those shows about your setup. Now I understand why it's so nice, right? I actually looked up the equipment you're using, and understanding now that you have a background in production, it makes a lot more sense. But you mentioned that you put some thought into what you're going to do. If your goal is to inspire others, talk about a little bit about that process in your mind. What kind of thoughts do you put into that? You did the Grok Rock. Why did you think there was value in doing that? And then I'd also like you to talk a little bit about your setup and how you go about setting up your show, because I think it's pretty impressive to those of us that watch you online. And I think you're inspiring a lot of people into being brave enough to take those steps and do it themselves as well. So just some questions.
Thank you. And man, I see you on the streams as well. I definitely appreciate the support, and I'm glad that you're getting something from it that's useful, man. So a lot of good questions. So what's interesting is actually there's some stuff that's like really simple. I had one stream where I did 100-hour stream, and I was just on video for 100 hours in a row. And the first night, I even slept on video. The following night, I'm 38 years old. The following night, my mother calls me and she's like, "Why are you sleeping on video?" Like, it was hilarious. It was like I'm 12 years old and she's like, and I'm living in her house. So it was like not everybody even gets it, right? So I'm like, I don't know, because it's dope. Like, I don't know. I know what dope is. I don't need to be told what dope is. You know what I mean? So as far as setup, I don't actually know a lot of stuff, but I feel when I see something like this is something I have to rely on because I'm not really trained, but I feel when I see what I want, I then aggressively copy it. So I'll go to like 5 or 10 different shows and watch their videos. And that's why, like, you see, I'm not there yet, but it's in the right direction. If you compare it to where I was a year ago, like, that shit looks terrible. Now I think it's getting somewhere. It's far from it, but it's getting somewhere. So I'll look at some of the best like interview shows out there, or I'll look at like game shows or whatever, and just see what they do with cameras, where they put them, how they set them up. Go on YouTube, because those guys have it way more figured out, like how to do basic lighting, where to put a light. Just start with that, and then don't buy more equipment until you reach the limitation of your current equipment, right? Because for 2 reasons. One is you don't need it because you won't take advantage of it because you don't even know why you have it. And 2, you then appreciate why you have that piece of equipment in the first place and understand why it's so important. So just start with anything. Literally put a webcam, the crappiest webcam that has a microphone built into it, and your desk lamp. Start with that. In 3 weeks, you'll be like, you know what? It would be nicer if I had this. And then it goes there. I've actually tried a bunch of other ways of like trying to set up the whole thing in advance and doing everything up front. It never works. You have to go one step at a time. And it's partially because I'm one person. If I had a whole production team, maybe we could do other things, but I'm kind of just also, screwing around. And a lot of time, what you think looks good doesn't look good. Like, to me, this whole potato cannon thing taught me that it's fun, but it's not interesting to watch because the setup, pumping the air, all this stuff is just boring to watch. And then you shoot it, you don't get the sense of the pressure of leaving the cannon. You don't get the sense of it. That's the coolness about it. And so it actually kind of sucks to watch. So I'm going to do that in a different way. I'll still do the cannon, but it's not going to be like a show built around it because it's actually not that fun to watch. And then as far as like what to do to inspire people, it's all about setting up the breakthrough. I just want you to leave really believing you can do one thing that you weren't able to do before. So let's say in the case of websites, like when we do these spaces, next week I'm doing 5 spaces in a row, day 1. I just want you to change. The next day, when you then have it on a URL and you send that URL to a friend and they open it, your life will change. The third day, when you save that data to a database and you can come back the next day, your life will change. The fourth day, when you contact Facebook and they send back your username, your life will change, etc. So my goal is just setting up these moments, right? And that's the same thing with Robot School. It's setting up moments where we run into your failure live on air, and then we fix it live on air, or whatever, like, or you see it happen, and ideally in a way where you believe you can do it too. I don't know, like, a lot of this is like, it could be wishful thinking, but that's the thought process.
Well, I do want to say thank you, because that's that's exactly what happened for me. And I was able to, the first one I went through was the SAS with you, and on hour 12 we actually didn't even finish, but we tried, right? And we got pretty dang close. And then the next day you kind of said, "Oh, I got it figured out," and posted the follow-up, which was really great. So, from just your average Joe Schmo watching you work, I had a very positive experience, and I hope that you keep doing it, even if you, become a, financially independent distributor.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm really glad that it's helping. And I noticed this for the first time when we did the big shout out to Christelle, and she's not here, but we did a massive build stream last May. It was like May 18th or something, and I had like 400 followers, and we had 2,000 views on it, which was crazy for me. And then a lot of people started building their apps after that. Like 5-10 people built their own apps after, so that was really crazy. So yeah, I appreciate that you're saying that this helps, because that's, to me, the most important thing, that we're moving forward together.
Yeah, I love the way that you go through it too. So you're very methodical, and I think that either self-taught programming or the logic, just the kind of normal process that you would go through for solving problems is, I like that, how they do it. Let's go investigate what other people did. Probably either writing it down or mentally taking note of some kind of result you want or objective you're going to complete, and then going through the process of trying one thing at a time. I did the same thing. In fact, I tried to copy your exact design, but the cameras that I had didn't work, and I didn't have any money for it. I had a webcam. I used a webcam and some Mac software and got close to the results. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, that's good enough for me. And then I figured out how to do, that one step turned into, hey, maybe I could do it with a better webcam, would produce a better result. Now I get 4K broadcasting with webcams because of the software, but it was all inspired by all the methodical process that you went through, and the fact that, and by the way, Vlad, you should do another one of those videos where you're like, okay, here's where the camera goes, here's what we did for the lights, here's where the thing goes, here's where I got my Stream Deck, here's where I push the button and it does the X, and then OBS does this part. You should go through that whole thing again, because the way you did it was really fantastic, and it taught me a lot. And you shouldn't, I don't think it's available anymore, but you should do another one, because it was really great.
Thank you. Yeah, those are good to do live as well, because people can tune in and ask questions, because there are lots of videos that do it. But actually doing it live, yeah, there's definitely something to it. And I actually got last 3-4 days, you'll see, I have a whole bunch of new stuff coming. That's why I had to push the thing to next week, but you'll like the new setup. So we definitely will do that ASAP. And we need to do one together. We need to do something together so we can teach people how to do multi-location broadcasting.
Yeah, I posted a picture of my desktop in the Purple Pill today, and I would love to do that, because again, like Valid was saying, one step, you make one change, then you see that makes a difference, and you make the next change, and then, oh, well, that wasn't so good. Okay, put it over here, put the light over here. Oh, well, the light's too much. I need to put a gate on it, or a box on it, or a barn door, or a grid or something. And, just going through that iterative process. I'd love to get a camera and show you my whole setup too, and show you how mine kind of matches yours, but then now it's different because I have a different use case than you do, right? So, but still, amazingly grateful that what you showed, how you put it all together, and then the way that you can explain and talk about things, it's fantastic.
Thank you. And don't be. And the most important thing, in my opinion, is be really honest with your suck, right? Because even movies that make it to movie theaters often suck. So for you to make something that doesn't suck is actually a massive breakthrough. So, like for me, I like honestly, it's the things that are amazing are almost by accident, right? Like I'll try 10 things, but I don't know which one is going to be dope until you do it. So I would say it's like anytime you did something that is better than complete garbage, it's actually very hard when it comes to art.
One thing that's really neat about the X platform is the ability to talk to people. I remember in the old days, you'd have radio stations where you'd have the call-in people, where people would call in and chat about X, Y, and Z. And X is unique in that feature. I live out in the middle of nowhere in the desert, and I was, inspired by you. I have a sunroom where I do art, and I'm trying to think of some way, because what I really, if you did not see Vladimir do his thing when he was Mr. Robot, before he got unceremoniously yanked from the platform, it was really, really cool. You do it late at night. I remember there was a thing where you were playing poker with Honey Badger, and it was just so awesome. And it was truly inspiring. I was trying to think, well, what can I do? And then, I get self-conscious about, do I want to, all these other things. Are there any hurdles, talking about breakthroughs? What are the breakthroughs and hurdles that you had to go through personally to get to where you were to do what you were doing?
I mean, I don't know. I had, it depends on how far back you go. I mean, I think, are we talking like, life hurdles? Are we talking recent hurdles in broadcasting? Or like, what
mentally self-imposed hurdles, let's say that. The things that block people from doing what they, because Alex Finn would always say, the highest reward, the most money, are the things that you are the most uncomfortable doing.
I'm not really uncomfortable doing anything, to be honest. It's kind of like part of my psychopathy, I guess. As far as the hurdle, it's just learning the stuff, like realizing that I'm not actually a world-class director of photography or a camera person or a broadcaster or this and that. Like, there's some things that I'm good at, but it's real. It's the being honest with your suck, like being truly, like, you look at a thing being like, this is the best you could do. Now you need to learn more to do better. That is I wouldn't say it's the hardest, but it's not the hardest, like the heaviest lift, but it's sort of it's the thing that your body fights the most against for a while until you sort of become more honest with yourself. Like, every musician will write a song and think their song is awesome until they become a professional, and then they have a good filter. Or, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Or they get honest feedback from someone they trust, and like, yeah, you know what, the hook was good, but the bridge sucked, and what's up with the chorus, right?
Yeah, I think honestly, things that I can say for sure kept me back is listening to anybody that hasn't done the thing that I'm trying to do. So, feedback from people, let's say you're trying to do something and somebody gives you feedback on how to do it. If they've never done it or coached someone through doing it, their feedback is at best useless, at worst harmful.
Yes.
So that's kind of one approach.
It's kind of like the guys we have on YouTube and whatever that are teaching martial arts or self-defense, and you just look at them and go, yeah, you've never ever been in a fight. How are you ever going to teach somebody how to defend themselves?
Yeah, and that's why you never hear me talk about how to get views or anything, right? Because that's what I'm going to focus this year on, trying to figure that out. I'm good at making original stuff. I can prove that, right? I can show you 20 things that I did that other people did. Cool. But I'm not good at getting views on it. That's a whole different story. I'm not saying I even tried to, but it's being honest with the suck and being honest with the good. What are you good at? What are you not as good at? And then if you really want to improve, then yes, you actually have to do the things you're not comfortable with, because you're going to tend to want to do the same thing over and over. I don't know. That's a whole other thing. I'm not really like get you motivated out of bed kind of guy, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
one thing that I think that's the new currency, whatever you want to call it, is collaboration. And we definitely want to hear what you learn, because Andy and I are, we have this space, and we feel that like that we need to start to get to spread out, get a bigger audience, and how to do that. And so I think everybody, I mean, one thing with the All In podcast is to see these guys that are billionaires, that are very successful financially. Why are they wasting their time doing a show on YouTube? And they did, the other day they were interviewed, and Freebird said, you know what? The reason why I do this, I'm realizing now, is when I have a business meeting, I show up and people
Yep.
go, hey, we know you, we trust you, we want to do business with you. And it gets all of that out of the way, and it helps him with his
Exactly.
business. And so this is the AI Biz Hour. So this is about AI and business, and everybody here does business in one way or the other. And so that to me really showed that I get, like, with younger people. I spoke to my niece the other day, and I feel like, oh my goodness, there's kind of an urgency for everyone to, I hate the idea when you see a picture of
Oh.
10,000 people in front of their phones with the light, and you just go, "Oy, that's horrible." But to a certain degree, I think maybe moving forward, that we all kind of need something like this. What are your thoughts on that? Is the resume and that kind of over? Is it now a more opaque way? And is this the quickest way and the fastest way to build trust, to do business? Is that something that you've been thinking about in terms of wanting to branch out your distribution? Is what's the Uber goal? And I asked too many questions at once. What is my problem, Vladimir?
No, listen, those are good questions. As far as the resume, I actually talked about this on I forget some space recently, but for me, that's what X is. I don't make money by X revenue or whatever. What X does for me is I post stuff, and then instead of me ever having to make a resume, people can go to my X profile and just read a couple of weeks worth of stuff. They're still going to do it anyway, and if I talk about stuff that is
Love that.
in my wheelhouse, and then credible people comment on it, I don't need to then make a resume with referrals because it's there in the open. And I also feel if I'm going to be somebody who is successful or a public person, I might as well be a public person, right? I see my life going forward as being a public person, so I might as well do it here, right? And this is my open resume, so to say. The other thing is, I actually have started to think that some things are just big picture, and don't try to change them. Like the idea of people are going to be on their phones, whatever the medium of the day is. At a given point, there's going to be people who are consuming garbage, including smart people, right? Because that's just what we as humans do. And sort of, if we accept consumption of garbage, the same way you'll sometimes go eat McDonald's or whatever, the same way, if we accept consumption of garbage as part of human nature, we don't necessarily need to like worry about it. People can do what they're gonna do. Listen, you want to go sit on your phone and look at bullshit, that's your job. But it maybe at least I'll be on the end that's sending you messages. If you're gonna be staring at your phone all day, maybe you can at least look at my stuff. That's kind of how I'm thinking. So I'm not even trying to change everything. I'm not trying to change, turn the whole world for the better. I think something like, as I'm getting older, and I'm only 38, I'm realizing that some things are just part of the big picture, and some things are for you to change. So I don't know if that answers it.
Yeah, no, what are your thoughts in terms of, so why are you deciding to be a public figure?
Ooh.
It's the same way that somebody decides to be an electrician or a software developer or whatever. I don't necessarily know what the words are for it. It's just what I feel like I should be doing. if I were to try to put words for it, I think when in the position to lead, I tend to lead people to better outcomes. So that's generally good. And if we're getting specific in terms of software development or in robotics or in teaching kids, I think I can do that well. Um, and if I can expand that message to a larger number of people, then more people will benefit. And I will benefit too.
And I guess that it benefits you have your so please tell us about what you're doing now. We only have about 6 minutes left. I don't know if you have to leave at one. Andy does that if Andy wants to speak in my stead, but just I would love to hear about the businesses that you're doing now. What do people need to know about them? And if anybody's interested, how could they get in touch with you?
Um, well, number one, today is day 8, day 9 of giving it 100% for 100 days. This is the second 100 days. And this time I decided let's start slow and end big. Last time we started real big and almost crashed into a wall. Actually, literally crashed into a wall. And, so this time we're doing that right now. We're picking it up slow, giving it 100% and getting, through this. But what I'm doing right now is I'm CTO of a software company. I don't really talk too much about it yet, but basically we have chatbots that sell stuff for you in the DMs. You wake up with money in your account. So I do that. And then I teach kids. I have a business called Robot School. It's in the Toronto area. We're in local schools here, and we teach kids to build robots. But aside from that, I am working on what's going to be happening sort of online for the next year. I have all kinds of plans. I'm sure every person here has big visions, right? That's what we do here, have big visions. But now the goal is to actually connect it to reality, and that's the distribution. So I'm trying to be a little bit more active, right? Like I found the mistakes I've made were being too reactive, being like, okay, I feel creative, let's go this. That's easy. Anybody can feel creative for a moment and go do some nonsense. But it's harder, I think, to do the more grown up thing, which is then to go make something useful for other people from it. So that's what I'm trying to do about it.
And if you could just talk a little bit about your DM bots. I'm just curious because this is the AI Biz Hour. Are you using AI for that? If you don't want to talk about it, that's totally cool as well.
Yeah, can't talk entirely about it, but yes, we use AI, and I don't know if it's the first, but we certainly look at it like that is the first AI that mimics a human well enough that you can run it in your DMs and have it sell for you. That's about
What?
it.
Hey,
Yeah,
what,
literally,
Vlad?
like we train a chatbot to be your sales agent.
What if you could tell us what kind of tech stack are you using on that? Are you using a custom model? Are you using your own model? Is it a plug-in to an API to Grok or
I can't talk about what we're doing, but I can say it's for Instagram and it's for basically teaching for people who sell in the DMs. Let's say I can't go into too much detail yet.
No, that's okay. I totally understand. But you're obviously using some kind of trigger to capture the DMs, then read them with some kind of LLM, and then do some kind of trained response, right?
Something like that. Yeah, something like that. Ultimately, the goal is, let's say let's say you have a social media account. Imagine that, right? Who here would have that? And you sell stuff online. Maybe it's a course, maybe it's a digital download. You do things. Some of them go viral, some of them don't. Some of them get people to DM you, some of them get people to comment to you. And then those people are all potential leads. They're saying things like, hey, tell me about that thing. Tell me more. Some of them are going to sign up for your thing. And you have to talk to them. And either you have to talk to them or you have to hire somebody to talk to them. And this is a problem. This is a problem for anybody that scales beyond $10,000 per month of anything, right? You have to go, it's just a matter of numbers. And so if you want to do that, you're hiring people in the Philippines or you're hiring people here for much more money. And both have advantages, right? You have either people who aren't as qualified to do the conversations, who you're being paid less, like juniors. You have more experienced ones who are being paid more. And if you can have the AI do it for you at a cost that is lower than all of those people, with a higher conversion rate than all of those people, then you're good. And that's what we do.
Well, that's awesome. And if you're listening, and you're not sure if you need an AI or a human, or you're not sure, be sure to join or go to our sponsor, Virtual Synergies. They actually have VAs who can help you right away. And so please do that. Vlad, I've got to drop. I'm going to give you back over to John, but thank you so much. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the stuff you do in your friendship, all this time. And everybody else needs to follow you. Click the buttons, hit the alerts, find out when Vlad's going live and all of that. Thanks again. Okay, back to you, John.
See you soon, Andy. Good to talk to you as always.
Okay. So I apologize. My computer desktop's been acting a little funny, so it doesn't move quite as fast as I wish. Please, can you go another 5-10 minutes? And if there's any questions from the group, I really encourage people to raise their hand, grab their mic. Vlad is a very interesting guy. He's got a lot going on. We can all learn a lot from him. We're all here for a reason, and it seems that not all of us put as much time as Vladimir does into why and what and how. And by watching you, I really get the sense that you are looking at this as an engineer, or as a bit of a scientist, to kind of, you're searching for a desired outcome. Am I wrong with that? Or it might not be specifically articulated, but you're definitely plodding along to get somewhere.
That's definitely true. Yeah, I mean, part of it is just like I'm an obsessed crazy person, but yeah, no, that's definitely it. And I actually feel like I feel successful when you go watch my stuff or read something I wrote, and then you're like, oh yeah, I got it, and then you feel like you don't even need to read anymore because you get it, and then you can move on yourself to the next thing, right? It's almost like I feel like if you read something I did and then you have to keep reading more, it's almost like I created problems for you and didn't solve them. You know what I mean? Where you learn something and now you have to learn more to make that piece of information useful. That's great, but my approach is different. My approach is I actually want you to then like move on with what you're doing because it helped you in a specific thing. So I don't know. I'm working on it. Again, it's a tough standard. I'm in it for the long run. Like I've been doing this for about a year. I plan on doing this for the rest of my life, in the sense of doing things in public and showing people cool stuff. And the fact that we get to live in the age of AI where the AI can help do all of this is just a blessing.
So how do you manage your time a little? You were going to be, you did 12 hours of a live broadcast. You're, doing 100 days straight, yet you're also running some companies in the background. Not one company, but two for sure. There's certain people that seem to have a magical flow of ability while others struggle. And I think that this is somewhat unique with you, because the focal point that you bring to the table is not any of these other things that you're doing in the background. It's this. So one question: time management, how do you do it? Second question: what are your plans for this coming year in terms of events? Have you put any thought into it?
um, Time management, it's just don't do things you don't want to do. At first, some things will immediately atrophy, and then you're only left with things you want to do. It's really easy. Just and this doesn't work for all approaches. Okay, like my approach, like I don't have a calendar. I don't. But I'll still schedule stuff. But if I miss it, then they'll call me. And if they didn't call me, then I wasn't needed. Now, this doesn't work for all organizations. This works for the organizations that I happen to run, where we know this is the case. But what happens is you're not actually needed most of the time, right? Like people are very smart. People are very capable. If people are focused, you actually are just going to get in the way most of the time. So like the way I've learned it, and this isn't like I'm not like a particularly good business person, things done, because then they'll get done for sure, because that person has to do it and you don't have to. It's kind of, it sounds weird, but that's, and then
What are your plans for the year? Do you have any plans? Do you have any things coming up besides the
yeah, you just
potato?
everything. This 100 days is about finishing everything we started. So we're on day 8. We're gonna make the big 100-foot sticker. We're gonna build the robot. We're gonna build the cannon. Finish the grok rock, everything. So the goal is to not, for the next 92 days, don't start anything new. Just finish the things that are already started, that are already dope, and just get them done. And then we're gonna be at July 6th, and then we can talk about the future. That's the plan.
And also, are you starting to get feelers out? Because there's got to be a video. This is my dream: is that you are at X or SpaceX or what have you. You show up with the giant poster of all the people on X that we know, and Elon is there, and you give the handshake. Are you working on making that happen? Because that, to me, that has to happen.
Yeah, the proper way to do it is to get a robotics company sponsorship, because all of this will be tied to viewers that have to do with Elon and Tesla and SpaceX. So, of course, anybody building robots wants exposure. Like anybody building robots right now, right? There's tons of companies, but what each one wants is to be known and to have their name associated with anything to do with robotics. So yeah, the goal is that. Yes, that's one of the goals. I don't know if we're gonna end up at X, or we might drive by X and then drive down to the Kick headquarters. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I get banned again. But this time the sticker is happening one way or another. It's that the sticker is real life. The sticker is not on X. The sticker is on a building. And so wherever the cameras are that are pointed at it, I'm sure you guys are going to get to see it.
We have a hand up, Jack. You have a question.
Yeah, so, just mentioning the robotics, Vladimir, if you want to connect offline, I do have access to some folks at Fanuc and Epson and Kawasaki Robotics. So we do quite a bit of work with them. And if you want to, I can get you connected to some key people there if that helps.
Yeah, that would be amazing. My dream is that I build a robot and I name him after the company that sponsors it. You know what I mean? And then I drive with the robot together down to Texas, and then he's my driving partner. We're having a conversation the whole time, and we get to Texas, we stick the sticker on together. That's kind of how I picture it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And some of those guys are really interested in educational space, some not. So yeah, I'll connect with you offline. I'll DM you my number, and if you want to talk some more, we can do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's do it.
Yeah, you definitely have some Barnum and Bailey inside of you, Vladimir. I'm not sure if you followed him at all or anything, but you do. Yeah, it's that old style type of marketing, which is really kind of cool. Um, I think we're going to wind down pretty soon. I can't encourage people enough. Not, please ask for the mic and raise your hand. But if there's not any more hands, we don't want to just go over the same ground again and again and again. So that's not going to be very productive. Can you tell us, Vladimir, when you do these things? Do they start with little ideas? Do you sit down and get a notebook? Have you had? You don't use a calendar. Now that's somebody who put on social media. You have these people who like have their posts all scheduled and everything. How does the Vladimir mind work when it comes? You're talking about big things. You want to really scale your visibility. You want to become a public figure, yet you don't use a calendar. How do we square this?
I don't think they have anything to do with each other. But no, in reality, if you want to have a system that is like that, it requires somebody on my team running a calendar. I don't mean that nobody involved with what I do does it. It like obviously it's impossible. Yes, so some, like if you want if you want distribution, you need all of that. Yes, and that's something I'll be focusing on this year. Part of, I would say, one of my shortcomings is maybe from not using a calendar, in that allows you to be more creative and sort of, if you have that opportunity, take the inspiration. Inspiration comes and goes, and when it's gone forever. So if you're able to take it when it comes and do something with it, um, that's cool, but it doesn't mean you're going to sell it or make any money or even help more than the 5 people who are already watching you. And so that's the next level. It's again, this, to use the Eminem analogy, because I followed his career for a while. You can have the best stuff in the world according to everybody, but until everybody knows about it, it doesn't matter. And so, not that I think I have the best stuff in the world, but I'm saying no matter what you have, people have to know about it. And so right now I actually want to focus more. I actually want to show what it's like to go from somebody who actively focuses not on distribution and gets, hundreds of views on a post, to somebody who gets tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of views on a post within a year. And next April, when we're back here, because this is 1 year of me being on X. In another year, we're going to talk about what happened. That's what I want to do. I want to do a year, we'll do another year in review, and hopefully that account doesn't get banned. And we're talking about pictures of the massive sticker with us all in front of it. I don't know. Listen, we can all make big plans. If you're creative enough, you can easily convince yourself of all kinds of bullshit. But then you just got to do the work at this point.
And just do you, I'm the guy who has a spreadsheet and puts together great ideas about X, Y, and Z in times. And are you like, will you're mainly on X? What other platforms are you looking at to expand your reach? You got booted from X unceremonially. So, like, where, and how do you determine what is the best platform for what you're doing? Is it just a gut feeling? Do you like to look at numbers and statistics? Like, you're a marketing guy, obviously, but are you a marketing guy who pays attention to marketing? Do you pay attention to stats? How do you come across with what you're going to put your time into, or does your team take care of that?
Oh no, I've spent 1 year doing stuff entirely myself on X, and I believe X is a great platform to get feedback. It's a terrible platform to get numbers, like real reach. So the goal is I will now go to all other platforms. So I'll use X to test stuff. This is probably going to be the first place where like new stuff drops, or that I'm trying original stuff, because it has the shortest memory. Um, People here, like, you can do things that are completely abhorrent on X, and people will completely forget, and you can just get to try and try. Not that I plan to, but the point is, you can just put out stuff that has nothing to do with the stuff before, up and down in quality, and you really can get good feedback from it. But I just don't think it's the best place to get those long-term views. So I'm gonna stream everything to Kick, to YouTube, to Twitch. Post stuff on TikTok, post stuff on Instagram, because I'm starting to understand Instagram a little better, and just try a lot of other, basically everywhere else, but X being the place where I actually talk to people, and everywhere else being like more a parasocial, being like, I'll put the stuff out, but I'm not really going to be talking to people there, because it's actually not possible the way it's set up. Like, you can't really go have a conversation with someone on YouTube. It's just not possible. It's not set up for that. So this is like kind of the place where I can then go and discuss feedback, and then work everywhere else. That's the plan. We'll see. Again, plans change.
So I'm in the same spot right now. So I today, for the first time, I posted on LinkedIn with a link to my account here saying, "Hey, come and join us on X." I'm going to try to play with that more and more, because I feel that it's time now that I need to bring other people into the conversation. Where are you, what are your thoughts on that? Are you going to try to draw people in, say, hey, if you want to talk to me, if you want to engage, you get, I mean, I have people in my family who won't go on to X just because of their political views. It's crazy, but that's the world we live in right now. So what are your thoughts on that? And are you going to be one of those guys that when they do their feed every time, it's going to be on Twitch, it's going to be on Rumble, it's going to be on YouTube? Like, is it live streaming? Is that your bag? Is where's the sweet spot? Where's the Where's the river flowing?
Honestly, I don't know, but what I would love to do, and I think like if I were to put a goal to it, is that it's called having fun. We talked a lot about all this useful stuff and productivity, but most people on here are not making money. They're actually on here to have fun, and it's disguised as all this other bullshit. So what I want to do is make it fun and enjoyable for adults to use, to watch my stuff, to participate in what I do, etc. Because part of what YouTube does well, people, and not just not YouTube, but and Instagram, but people on Instagram and people of YouTube, is that they really work together. They have events together. They have big video things together. They do these, chess things where creators play against other creators. There is none of that on X. Part of it, I think, is because people on X, on average, the creators, they're older, and so there's just not as much time for bullshit. And so we need something that's sort of worthy of adult attention, and that's something that I want to produce in the long run. I don't think it's hard. It's hard to get attention from children in the long run. That's a long-term game where you do this. It's like selling candy, right? Like that's not necessarily the hardest game. And I almost feel like I have to make a choice. Is it going to be McNuggets or is it going to be Michelin? You may sell more McNuggets and make more money, but the Michelin star restaurant is generally going to be more respected, so to say, and people will ask for their advice more than not necessarily. See, you see, because the McNuggets also have value. So it's almost like having to make a choice of who you want to talk to. And the reality is, the more, if you want to be heard by a lot of people, you have to talk about more common things. And I just don't have as much in common, I think, with everybody yet. I have more in common with people who are actively longing for things.
I think that I think crisis, fear, disruption is opportunity. And also I believe that, those of us who've been around for a couple cycles of the moon a little bit longer than others have some wisdom and some things to bring to the table, which I think are going to be needed at this time where there's going to be uncertainty as AI brings change into the world. That, I mean, you and I and everybody here who uses AI on a regular basis are starting to realize that the world is going to be radically different in 10 years. In 20 years, who knows what's going to be going on? And there's also multiple timelines. So I believe that your mind can actually create reality, and there might be a situation where we jump timelines without knowing it because our thoughts are either positive or negative or interesting or whatever, and we all are part of we all have our prime timeline, which we're number one in. Be that as it may. So the point that I'm trying to say is that you y- you are teaching kids about robots. You obviously have some interest in the future of humanity. You do have kids. What is the responsibility for us to the younger generation if we do get visibility and we do reach a wider audience? Does that matter? Are we just here to make a buck, or what's the point of all of this?
I don't. So that's a tough question. One of my favorite well, not he's not a battle rapper. One of my favorite artists, Cassidy. He did a rap battle once, and he charged a lot of money to do it. And people said, well, you should do it for the culture. And he said, listen, I do it for the money, but it's good for the culture. And I think in the long term, for things to work, that kind of has to be true, where you get paid for what you do, but it's good for everyone. So it's finding opportunities where that's true, and you also enjoy. I don't know, these are life decisions, right? Like, should you even be enjoying what you do, right? Like, that's a whole question. Like, for me, yes, I think you should enjoy what you do and have fun if you can, but that's a choice I personally make. So with that, I want to do things that are good for everyone, but that I benefit from.
That's that's I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, and that's I think very important. And yeah, we as if we can find people can tell if you're having fun, it attracts. If you're doing it because you feel like you have to, people don't really, it doesn't really bring in the crowd, in my opinion, and in my experience with things, with people that I know that have worked in a pretty high level in terms of entertainment and writing and all of that stuff. And so, when they're just like following their own bliss, people seem to come along for the ride because everybody wants that energy, that magnetic experience. And so I think you're right on it. I'm getting to the point where I'm kind of just talking, so that's kind of a trigger. I don't see any hands, and Vladimir's making a bunch of noise. I don't. Are you building something, Vladimir? Are you building a robot?
Oh, I just went to the door. My wife and kid just got home, so I had to let them in. Um, yeah. I guess, yeah. As we close up, I think, having thought about it a little more, um, this may be kind of a high bar, but what I ultimately want to achieve is show people, um, like, for people who want to do what I do, show them like what it is, and then also show people that I was probably once in their shoes, and that just about anybody else can do it. That's kind of at a very high level the purpose of it all.
Well, that is wonderful, and I think that's our call if you have any last words, I hope that everybody needs to follow Vladimir. Vladimir is hugely inspirational. If you're sitting there and you're having a lull in your day, you go, Vladimir gives 100% all the time. So we just got to step up and give 100%. Everybody gives 100%. You change the world by changing yourself. That's my opinion, and that's my belief. So, Vladimir, I'm going to let you have the last word here, and then we're going to close it up. And thank you, everybody, for attending. We have another great show tomorrow, and with Graham, who has done amazing things. Please follow AI Biz Hour. Please share. And this is a recorded space. If you know somebody who would find it interesting, I think today's space is really great, Vladimir, because you bring up a whole nother topic level that we haven't really addressed here, and you do it with focus and intensity, which is really wonderful. So you get the last word, and thank you so much. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Say what you wish.
Thank you, John. I'll be really quick. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I'm glad that you stayed around for this long. I'm hoping that you're getting something from it, either on a daily basis or even just once. Definitely feel free to reach out to me anytime if there's something specific you want me to cover, because most of the stuff that I do know comes from somebody telling me. Because there's otherwise, how do you learn? And let's just keep building stuff. Right now, like, we live in such a crazy time. I don't even need to say it. Everyone on X is already saying it. Everything is over. Everything is dead. The yesterday is dead. Blah blah blah. If you're not embracing the future, just do the thing. Like, I don't know. I personally think we have a small amount of time to do the thing that we decide to do, and anytime we're worrying about some other bullshit other than that, we're not doing that. So life is short, but it's long enough. Let's get it.